So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I used to, like most of us, I used to be petrified of public speaking. I mean, I would not only be very nervous in advance, like I would lose sleep, I would think about it for days ahead of time. If I was given a presentation, or even if I knew I was going to a meeting where I was going to have a role or needed to speak up a lot, I'd think about it, I'd get in my head, I'd be very nervous leading in, I'd sometimes lose sleep, I wouldn't eat the day of. Wow. And then when the moment arrived, and certainly right before, I would have all those physical reactions, you know, the heart pounding, the dry mouth, my throat would tighten up, my stomach wouldn't feel good, a little sweaty palms. And I mean, these physical reactions, I kind of knew they were normal, but they never made me feel comfortable, and I always felt like I was at a disadvantage. Because if you don't feel like you're looking and sounding good, then that gets into your head a little bit mentally.
Okay, so what were some of the things that you did? I mean, you were struggling with this. This was not fun. How did you work towards it? And did you at any point have a breakthrough?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that I learned over the point of time was the main difference between what I was doing in the past when I would let that anxiety, because the anxiety is normal. So those reactions I just spoke of, and having even a little adrenaline, let alone paralyzing anxiety, is very normal. But the difference for me is that I realized I'm going to shift away from trying to be accepted, from trying to fit in and trying to play a role, to being myself. Mm-hmm. My breakthrough was when I finally realized that for all those years in corporate, and this doesn't just apply if you have a traditional or a corporate job, this just applies anywhere in life. But as human beings, we're so wanting to fit in that we're often role-playing, and we're often longing for the acceptance of other people. We want other people to like what we do, what we say, how we look, and we're fixated on that. So that anxiety, which again is very normal, and a lot of those physical reactions, it's heightened because our mind is in a place, and our mindset is we're worried about how we look and how we're going to do, as opposed to focused on bringing value to the discussion or to the meeting or to the presentation. So I learned that I'm no longer going to focus on being accepted or liked by everybody and playing a role like, oh my gosh, I have to live up to this billing, I'm a manager, therefore I need to look and sound a certain way. I just finally accepted that I can be myself. And when we're ourselves and our true selves, which there's a lot behind that, right? It's having clarity on who you are. It's being connected to the value that you bring to the world. It's knowing what you're good at, knowing what your role is, like how you help people, how you serve others, what are the skills that you want to leverage every day. It's being really connected and having a lot of clarity in those areas. And then you bring those out in a way that's authentic and aligned with who you are. And all that other stuff about, I hope I look good, I hope I sound good, it goes to the wayside, it goes to the side, and that diminishes the anxiety is always going to be there. I always say, don't worry about conquering your fear. You want to just have it there in its place, knowing that it'll kind of warn me or alert me if I need it to. But I really want to use this energy and adrenaline to share something really cool that's going to help you.
Okay. And how did you even go about, so once you got past this point that bringing your true self to the table is how you're going to kind of bring value, how did you go about starting to identify and clarify your strengths, your unique value, what your interests are? Like, how did you even get started with that?
Yeah, well, we're, as human beings, we need and like to grow. We want challenges, we want growth, we want opportunity, and we want to make an impact. So for example, I just started to look at, like, whenever I had done something pretty well or successfully in my life, what was the difference that I contributed, or what was the value that I contributed? Sometimes I would write it down, sometimes I would just talk through it with other people, sometimes I would seek input and feedback, and I teach ways that we all can do that too. Sometimes it's better to get advice and direct input than just ask for feedback. But hearing that from other people, like, hey, when we worked on that project together, what do you think was the best thing that I contributed? And also, again, like I mentioned earlier, I would go back and say, what are the things that I not only did well, but I kind of enjoyed too? Like when I would do that role or be part of a team, that would light me up. I would be excited, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I'm not really enjoying this, or I'm dreading going into this day of this meeting, this workshop, because I just don't enjoy or get excited by that. So when you bring all those pieces together, I always refer to these as like they're the building blocks. They're like the blocks that kids play with letters and numbers on them. And you get clarity on each block, and then you bring them together to build something. And it's a step-by-step process. It does require some investment on each person's part to get there. But it's really cool stuff. It's a great journey because it helps us build alignment and where we want to go. Because the next step is, where do you want to, now that you have clarity on who you are, what you enjoy, what you're good at, and how you bring value, where do you want to bring it? Like, how do I want to manifest it and bring it out every day? And I'm going to go down that road. It's a great process.